After yesterday, the bottom line is this: the Raiders are not a good team at all. We Raider fans all expected that this would be a lackluster year, but I don't think anyone predicted this bad of results. That game yesterday against the Chiefs should result in firings. Anyone who knows ball can watch that game and realize that our coaching is deeply flawed. Talent or no talent, a good coach should be able to take an NFL roster and produce better results on offense and defense. And against our arch rivals, the Chiefs, terrible, terrible, terrible. I've said it before on this podcast. I'm not sold on Patrick Graham. Never have been. Even Tony Romo commented on it during yesterday's game. The defense's secondary plays way too far back. Patrick Mahomes looked like he was playing pitch and catch out there. Our secondary was virtually non-existent thanks to Patrick Graham's soft zone. And anyone saying that this is a Pete Carroll problem hasn't been paying attention. Patrick Graham has called overly soft zone schemes for years. And you saw it for the 100th time yesterday. The pressure wasn't getting home, which allowed Mahomes to sit back, easily scan the secondary, and find the open spot in our secondary. There were way too many wide open receivers, and, come to think of it, there are always too many wide open receivers under Patrick Graham's defensive scheme, even before Pete Carroll's arrival. So I do believe Patrick Graham should walk. It's hard to imagine another defensive coordinator doing much worse than this. But watching Patrick Graham's non-existent secondary made me ponder something else. Why did we let secondary depth like Trayvon Merrick, Marcus Epps, Nate Hobbs, and Jacorian Bennett walk with apparently little to no resistance during the offseason? Us Raider fans thought that Pete Carroll and the coaches we had knew better than what our guts were telling us, and that they would develop the remaining secondary players we had left. We had faith that Carroll saw deficiencies in the aforementioned guys, and that Carroll, the architect of the Legion of Boom in Seattle, would make our corners and safeties all-stars. Well, he clearly hasn't, and he clearly didn't. Were guys like Merrigs, Epp, Hobbs, and Bennett potentially all-stars? No. But they were valuable depth for us at minimum. What we were left with is just sad. Our players in the secondary can't cover a soul. Kyle Blue Kelly looks pitiful out there. Just absolutely zero coverage talent in our secondary. And since they lack coverage talent, our guys in the secondary are always drawing pass interferences and holding penalties due to their lack of skill. So someone's head needs to roll over the decision to trust that this cast of characters in our secondary were NFL ready. Because the decision to let our depth walk while remaining loyal to these untalented players has set our secondary back potentially by years. And now our secondary is one more blatantly empty hole that we have to fill with future draft capital and finances. Offensively, I've never seen such a flat performance, and I've watched many bad Raider teams over the last 2 decades. Never before have I seen our offense look so inept. I hear some people calling for Chip Kelly's head, and I totally understand their anger and disillusionment. However, I predict that Patrick Graham will get the axe before Kelly simply due to length of time with the Raiders. I get what Kelly is trying to do. Kelly is trying to run a fast, spread, air raid offense. As a fan myself of the late, great coach Mike Leach, I respect the air raid offense as well as the philosophies behind it. However, we don't have an O-line that's remotely close to providing the protection necessary to make passing routes develop. Far too often, defenses are in our lap the second the ball gets snapped. So before firing Kelly, my question is this. Given the cap space we had this offseason, who decided to stand pat on our existing O-line? That's organizational malpractice and ineptitude at its worst. Us Raider fans were dubious about our O-line last year and widely agreed that although the O-line improved last year, it still needed additional talent to provide depth. By and large, our front office sat on its hands during the offseason and did very little to address this area of concern. Now that brings me to Carroll. If Carroll was a key player in standing pat on our obviously deficient secondary and O-line, then Carroll's got to go. I know I just finished saying that they won't fire Chip Kelly because he hasn't had a full year, but I'm very underwhelmed by Carroll right now. And I hate to sound ageist, but when you watch a Raider team that looks worse than it has in years, worse than it did under guys like Lane Kiffin, Art Shell 2.0, Dennis Allen, Josh McDaniels, etc., you've got to ask yourself whether or not Carroll's lost his fastball. And at his advanced age of 74, what exactly is the future game plan here? It's not like he's going to be with us for 10 years, seeing this thing through to his mid-80s, right? The mindset that a lot of Raider fans had going into the season was that Carroll was going to provide us a quick turnaround with Geno Smith and his own understanding of his waning coaching career. Us Raider fans want a return to respectability, regular playoff appearances on an annual basis, and Super Bowl championships. Yes, championships with an S, plural. All these things I listed require years' worth of time. Be honest with yourself, Raider fan. Do you believe Carroll can achieve all that with the limited time he has left in this league? I know this is heavy stuff, but too often us Raider fans put loyalty to coaches and players over the shield. What loyalty do we owe Carroll? Can you honestly look at this product and say that we're one offseason away from competence under Carroll? This looks like the worst Raiders team I've seen in 20 years, and it's happening under Carroll's watch. And let's say that Carroll transforms our team's culture and quickly turns this around in the next year. Then the question becomes this: how do we locate a coach who sticks to Carroll's winning formula instead of blowing it all up for his own vision and game plan? Wouldn't it be best to cut bait and get that young coach in the building sooner rather than later? I hope I'm wrong. I hope Carroll works his magic and rights our ship. I would love to record an episode taking all this back and admitting I was wrong. But at minimum, Carroll's demonstrated a poor ability to identify and develop talent. He's also demonstrated counterproductive loyalty that's setting us back, hence his decisions regarding guys like Geno Smith and Jackson Powers Johnson. And don't get me started on his ability to take our young, promising talent and list them as inactive on game day. You would think that Carroll would like to save face as well and enjoy his retirement years. The longer this ineptitude goes on, the more it mars his legacy as a coach. Also, I still believe that the Geno experiment needs to end. I swear, I had written an episode that I was prepared to release prior to the Chiefs game, but I wanted to see just how bad things got against the Chiefs. In the notes for that episode, I said that the Chiefs could do us a great favor by thoroughly exposing Geno and showing us all, once and for all, that he's not our guy. Well, what was it, like 3 first downs and under 100 yards of offense? Geno looks terrible out there. He looks timid. He doesn't play dynamically. His accuracy is suspect. And he's simply not playing like a confident guy. I wanted so badly to believe in Geno Smith after week one's performance. Heck, I even wanted to believe in him after the Titans game, thinking that he'd be able to run a more conservative offensive scheme. But the goose egg in Kansas City has deeply soured my view of Geno on top of everything else we know up to this point in the season. You know, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers spoiled modern football fans and warped their sense of reality. Today's fans saw the longevity of Brady, and now they believe that the Brady experience is universal. And yes, it's true that thanks to modern rules, babying quarterbacks and protecting them from big hits, QBs can indeed play longer than they used to. But the human body is still the human body. Brady was an outlier. When I was a kid, 33, 34, 35 was getting up there for a quarterback. We fans lose sight of the fact that nothing's changed. A QB whose geno's age is long in the tooth and likely to steeply decline. It's just basic biology and physiology. Everyone gets old. So just like I asked, where's the end game regarding Carroll, I asked the same regarding Geno. I still believe Pickett should start, despite his poor showing against the Chiefs. Let Pickett start a full game coming off the bye against a lesser opponent and a healthier roster to work with, just so we can see if there's any spark whatsoever with him. He's still young. So on the off chance that he provides a spark, we can take a sigh of relief knowing that we have our future. I'm not saying that's likely, but we'll never find out as long as Carroll keeps rolling Geno out there. Again, do I hope I'm wrong? Absolutely. I'd like nothing better than to be wrong about this, but I don't see a future with Geno. 7 games is a pretty good sample size. He's had one good performance against the Patriots and has been subpar in all other 6 games. In fact, on both games he won, he still threw interceptions. So I asked the listener, despite all our best wishes, wishful thinking and fantasies about what Geno could have been and can be in the future, what has he shown you in reality so far? The answer is nothing. That's sad but true. Personally, I had more faith in Jimmy Garoppolo. That's sad but true. I had more confidence in a fresh out the draft Aiden O'Connell. That's sad but true. Bottom line is this: the Raiders have to get a franchise quarterback in the upcoming draft. I hate to say it, but if you can't beat them, join them. When you watch the Chiefs' success with Patrick Mahomes, we've got to do the same. We have to get our own guy, someone who has game-changing athleticism, someone who can scramble and make circus throws despite deficient talent around him. I know that I'm asking for what everyone obviously wants, but that's what the NFL's become. Since the rules make defenders afraid to hit the quarterback, and since the rules make it so difficult to cover receivers without drawing PIs, holding, or illegal contact, your team has to have a game changer at quarterback who takes advantage of the rule set. Mahomes does it. Josh Allen does it. It's long past due that our team joins the party. As the week goes on, I'll record more episodes further breaking down the state of our Raiders. But these are my initial thoughts. What happened yesterday is inexcusable, and heads ought to roll this week and/or during the bye. This franchise of ours has too proud of a history to be wallowing in mediocrity anymore. Enough is enough.